going to do a deep dive this afternoon, and it's so amazing. One of the things that I love about technology, especially when it's working, the
Exactly.
fact that you can connect with people all across the globe. And, as a relationship strategist, I'm always looking for ways to be able to impart into the women that I'm connected to. And when I saw Dr. Shana's interview not too long ago, I was literally blown away. And she brought up the topic of being calm. And when I thought about it, it made me think so much about the crisis that we're in the middle of now, and how you have wives that are at home that, that particular environment, it's doing something to them, it's shifting them. It's a new normal. So we wanted to be able to impart into these women, be able to impart into the wives, how they too can be calm in the midst of this crisis. So I wanted Dr. Shana to just take a moment to just really break down the concept that she was talking about, this acronym, Be Calm. So, Dr. Shana, can you share with our listeners a lot about that acronym, Be Calm?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience all across the world who are listening. We are all in this thing together.
Yes, we are.
And we are, and it takes us all to get us out of this thing. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to share. So as a licensed professional counselor, my thought was I have lots of clients who were struggling, and folks who weren't my clients who were struggling. I said, well, I have to figure out a way. How do I help us keep it simple? And some quick steps that we can follow to help ourselves be calm right now. Because what I do know is a panic is not going to help none of us. It's only going to make it worse. So Be Calm is an acronym that stands for all the steps that I'm telling folks to do right now to help ourselves. So the B and the E are really for our kiddos, because if you have children, there are certain things we need to do for them right now to help protect them emotionally. So the B is block all media from children. Children cannot handle it. Their systems are way too sensitive. This news is very triggering. Their anxieties will skyrocket faster than anything because they are the most vulnerable emotionally. So I tell kids, don't need to watch the news. If you got it on in the background and they show up, either they need to leave or you need to turn it down or cut it off or change the channel. You can watch it on your own time, but do not make them be a party to it. They can't handle it. The E for the kids is exercise caution when you speak to your kids about the coronavirus. Now, I don't believe in keeping kids in the dark, especially if they are of an age of some understanding, but you want to make sure you tell them what they can understand based on their age appropriateness. And tell them the truth, but don't give them too much. If you tell younger kids too many things that they can't handle, that's going to create more anxiety. Answer their questions, that kind of thing. Extremely, extremely important. So supporting our children as parents is amazingly important as part of this process.
Wow. Now
Sure.
that is really awesome, because when you think about during this time, you do have lots of women experiencing increase in anxiety because they're worried, how am I going to take care of the kids? This is a new normal. Instead of being able to send the kids to school, they're at home with me. How do I manage their learning? How do I run my business and still be there for my spouse? Is my spouse at home? Was there a displacement from their job? Was there a loss of income? So we need to, as women, we wear so many hats.
Tell me about it.
How do we manage it all? So when you said be calm, that's something that just hit me like right here. And like, that's it. That's what we needed to hear. We got to be able to be calm, and not just for us, just for the people that we're called to support, as far as, for our spouses, for our children, our business. And it's amazing how, as a woman, there's so much that we tend to carry, or so many things that we tend to balance, and we can find ourselves depleted. As as I was reading in your bio, if we don't take that time out to be calm and to learn to focus on what's in front of us right now and what's important, and learn to be able to filter what we allow to come in,
right.
That's going to in turn impact what comes out.
Well, exactly. And that's where the calm comes in, because that part is for the grown-ups, right? So we took care of the kiddos first. Now we're going to take care of us. So the first part of the calm, the C, is control the controllables. What we know about what's happening right now is a whole bunch of this we don't get to control. You don't get to control where this thing is going. You don't get to control the government. You don't get to control your job. You don't get to control the folks you work with, everybody at home. You don't get to control a whole lot of stuff. Right. But when we focus only on those parts that we cannot control, our anxiety is going to do one thing. Yes. It's going up. That's because we can't do anything about it. So when you focus on the controllables and you control those, you feel better. So folks are like, well, Dr. Shana, what do I control? Because all of it feels like it's out of control right now. Right. I got it. A lot of it is. But you can control your daily routine. You can control your daily schedule. Now, some folks tell me, Dr. Shana, if I have a schedule, I'm supposed to do this at this time and this at this time. They say that makes me just feel even more anxious. I say, well, you know what? If that's too much for you, then just have an expectation for your day. Just say, today, I plan to do these 3 things in whatever order you want to do them. They don't have to be tied to a time necessarily, but have an expectation. Because if you wake up and you have no clue what we're doing today, what y'all think happens?
Total chaos.
Total chaos. And we looking at each other, you get frustrated. The children in school, I'm from the South, so I say children. The children in school, they online trying to do schoolwork, and you don't know how to help them. You can't help yourself because you have not created an expectation for your day. So that is the first thing we can control, is that piece. Now it looks different now because you talked about the work from home thing. How many of us have worked from home? I have. But a lot of people haven't. Right. And that's tough to get thrown into the house and say, okay, go work for 40 hours a week from your living room, from your kitchen table, from the bed, because folks working in the bed, everything, right? You don't have no quiet space. So that's the area that you have to figure out how you control, where you're going to work from, choosing a space that is conducive to work. So like the bedroom, probably not the best place because you want to go to sleep. We taking naps on the job. I'm not judging nobody. I'm just saying, I know how this goes. Yeah. So control those pieces. You'll feel so much better. Like that is amazingly important. So that's the C, control the controllables.
Wow. Yeah, I know that's something that I'm taking advantage of because I'm working from home now. And, you know, when I wake up, I don't even shower. I just go straight to the computer system and go to work.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there. Get up every day, take a bath, get changed, get out your PJs. You can control that. You know, it's mental though, because it tells your body like we're getting ready to go to work. It makes a transition, right, from nighttime to daytime. Yeah. So get dressed every day, bro. Get dressed.
Yeah, but I like when I can just wake up right before I have to go to work and just go from one room to the other one.
I got you. It's
so this is a classic example of one of your non-compliant patients.
Yeah. The one I be fussing at in a session like, listen, didn't we have this conversation that you supposed to get dressed every day? And now I'm not telling folks you got to get suited and booted. All you really got to do is change a shirt, really, because you can get half dressed right now and it's okay. Don't nobody know what.
I do put on a shirt and different pair, you know.
Okay, so we're going to say you got this morning. We got you. I'm going to let you make it today. I'm going to let you make it. You're good. You're
so
good.
At least now going forward, when he gets up to go to work, I say, remember what Dr. Shana said?
There you go.
Change it.
There you go.
So I'm putting it on you.
There you go. You can blame me. I'm okay. I get blamed for a lot of stuff, so I'm good. I can handle it.
So I do, you know, that's you guys that are watching the video, or if you're listening to the replay or listening on the radio, and you're taking notes, make sure, like she said, if you're get really anxious with establishing a daily routine, just have a list of expectations, a couple of things so you don't feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know, to those wives, sometimes we have this, when I say massive to-do list, I used to have a to-do list of like 25 things, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it just kept growing. And as soon as I scratch 1 or 2 things off, I add 4 more things on.
We do.
And that creates unnecessary stress and pressure that we don't need during this time. So it's really, really important, you know, hey, doctor's orders, she's telling you.
Right.
It's the list.
I tell folks, if I had a prescription pad, honey, and they gave it to me and I could write them out, that'd be on it. That's the only. And so the other piece, what you're saying as well, Sakeisha, is so important, is being able to create a list of things that you want to accomplish. I'm telling folks, part of the ability to control right now is because many people have, and I'm not saying we have more time, because many of us have replaced those commutes with other stuff. So you still got plenty to do, but you can commit your time differently now than we used to. That's what I'm saying. So you have an ability to commit time differently now than you used to. So write down those things you said, when I had time, I would. If I had time, I would have done this or I would have done that. And if you write those things down, you can literally take from that list every day the things you want to address during that day. So you feel productive and accomplished. That's part of our mental health, is feeling productive. If you don't have a purpose when you show up every day, it really becomes a disservice to your emotional well-being, and it can cause you to have depression, anxieties, worries, feel overwhelmed, that kind of stuff. So creating a list is very helpful.
Now that is important. That is powerful. So I'm hoping that you guys are taking notes, because that's powerful right there. Yes. Think about the when I, or if I had time, I would. And that's the key there. Women, for husbands and wives, you now have the opportunity to, since you don't have that commute from any of them, you're able to work at home, you can take a break, and you can work on that business plan. You can work on starting a business, because there's one thing that I decided to do, was step out on faith. And it's something that God had been dealing with me for a while in terms of doing a prayer call for wives.
Oh, I love that.
Said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I have the time now. I'm going to run out of excuse. I'm not going to allow the excuses to take place. And what I did, and I'm transparent with every lady that I have that's a speaker on there, I sent out the message of what I wanted to do and asked who wanted to be a part. So I sent the message out. So then I had to be accountable. I couldn't come up with excuses and say, you know what? I'm tired. I don't feel like it. The kids need me. My husband needs me. I was like, nope, it's already been sent out. So as they respond, I can't do it. I can't back out.
Love it.
But you know what? It's wound up. It's been a journey, but it's been a blessing, because you have wives that are in this quarantine that had opportunities to come in. They pour out. As women, we pour out so much, but it's a time for them to be refilled.
Absolutely.
A lot of them involved in ministry, and it's been a blessing. So when you start talking about that time, that if you had that different amount of time, that's just an example of what can be doing during this time. Makes sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that we could all use this time really well. So what you just said just now, sis, leads into the A, and the A is asking for help. One of the things about right now that we can't do this by ourselves. Like anybody that's ever followed me, I say often, we are better together than we are alone. And those are just facts, because we weren't made to be here by ourselves. And so we need each other. So I'm encouraging people who are used to, I got it, I don't need no help, I'm good. Y'all know who y'all are. I got it. No, I'm good. Let me take care of that. Oh, y'all, that's who I'm talking to. That's us, because I was in the number. I ain't in there no more. I understand. You need other people. And so, like the prayer call, I love that. That's a way for us to support each other. We all need that so much, that positive encouragement. Like, we need it more now than we ever have needed that. I'm telling folks, but choose people that are going to add to you, in a sense that they are working to have themselves a solid emotional well-being. If you're always talking to folks who are highly anxious, then some of that can definitely rub off on you. And I'm not saying we don't be a support to them, but you want to kind of level that playing field, right? Where that's not all the folks you talk to, but talk to people who can actually support you as well and pour into you. So asking for help is a huge part of getting through this pandemic.
That is awesome. Awesome. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I was just working on trying to reduce some feedback. I don't know if it was
Now, you made a really valid point. You said choose people that are going to add value and not ones that are highly anxious. What is your recommendation to that woman or to that wife who's still reluctant to ask for help? Who doesn't know how to raise her hand and say, you know what, I'm the one that's struggling. I look like I've got it all together on the outside, but on the inside, I'm falling apart. Can you speak to that woman?
Yeah, I can speak to her, because we've been doing it for a long time. for the sisters in the room, this thing has a name. It's called the strong black woman syndrome. We got a name for it because we were given that we got to take care of it. And any woman can experience it, but for us, it had a whole label and a name for it. Where we couldn't be in a space of saying that we couldn't handle it because we had to handle it. And if we didn't handle it, then that means that we were weak somehow or inefficient somehow or inadequate, all of which are false beliefs. This goes back to the whole idea of shifting the way you see these things. Like what we tell ourselves matters more than anything right now. So what message are you sending to yourself that keeps you from asking for help? Are you telling yourself that if I ask for help, then somehow I am not enough, or I am not sufficient, or I am inadequate? Is that the message you're sending to yourself? We have to challenge those negative, irrational thoughts that do not support our well-being. See, things that are irrational are not based on fact. The fact that you need help does not mean that you are weak. When you raise your hand and ask for help, you actually are working from a strengths perspective because you're getting what you need. It's kind of like saying, if I'm hungry and you got the hamburger that I want to eat and I'm in here starving watching you eat it and I don't say nothing, I'm missing my opportunity for my resource and I'm going to starve, and it's not necessary. So I'm encouraging the women who are struggling with that to find a way to reduce or release the thoughts that keep you from asking for help. Remind yourself that being in a position to seek assistance from other people is absolutely powerful, because we cannot do all of this by ourselves. There is no shame and there is no guilt in asking for help. You decide who you ask. Everybody may not be the one or the source to support you, but ask for that help.
Wow, that was powerful. There's no shame in asking for help.
No.
So make sure to all of the listeners that whether you're watching, if you're listening live or you're watching the replay, don't be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't make you any less of a woman. You know,
well, I have to interject here because this has just been a women-dominated conversation. So I'm jumping in here. I've just been trying to handle the technical difficulty. But so how do you know who you're going to ask for help? Because I know a lot of times with women, they like to go to their girlfriends, and their girlfriends really cause more drama than they help, than helping sometimes. And then if we go to their family, they can be just as bad as some of their girlfriends.
Okay. So now Eric trying to be messy, but I'm gonna go here with you. It's messy. I got you though. It's okay. Now it depends on what the issue is, because all things aren't for everybody, correct?
Okay.
So if it's something that's related to your household and you have a mate, a spouse, or a partner that you're committed to, then if it's about your house, then I do believe that you should keep those things in the house and let the folks in the house, you and your mate, resolve that. What we know is when you bring extra folks into the house, you're going to create a problem, because it's not
exactly.
That's a problem. It is. But if it's something that's not related to what's happening inside of your home, if it's an emotional thing, not saying that you can't go to your mate for those things, because he or she might be the best person for you. But depending on where your mate is, they may or may not. I don't know. It just depends. Sometimes mates may not be emotionally in a space to be prepared to hold what you got.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you got to be honest about that. We can try it. If it doesn't work, then okay, that didn't work. But sometimes there's another party who can assist. Now, we can't let what they say interfere with what we bring back home. In that sense. And that's the problem. So that's kind of where you got to use discernment. That's what I'm calling it, in order for you to figure out, where do I go with this particular issue? But if it's something about the house, then you need to deal with that at home. That's for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's kind of like a best practice on who do you allow into your conversation, whether it's home, work, or office, So
exactly.
Best practice. I agree with that.
Kind of like a reminder that we give to the wives to just make sure the person that's speaking into your life is qualified to do so.
Come on now.
If they're not qualified to do that, if your best friend has been divorced 3 times, she may not be the person to go to about your marriage.
I'm gonna go.
And it's not that you're judging them. You're just having to, like you said, use wisdom, use discernment in regards to, is this person really going to be a blessing, or is this going to be a hindrance?
Well, I guess a guideline for that, we have about 4 minutes to a break, but a guideline is to that, well, you know how you always say you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So you want to hang around others that are doing well, a little bit more than you or smarter than you that have some strategies. You know, that's why we hanging out with Dr. Shana. We trying to learn. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna do this together. Do this together.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can
Well,
get
yeah.
the L right before we go to break. Can I do one more of the
Okay,
letter?
yes.
Okay, I'll do one more. So the L is look for opportunities to self-soothe. So when we're talking about we're having higher anxiety right now, folks are struggling a lot more emotionally because of the state of where we are. We have to find ways to soothe ourselves. Now, there's lots of ways to do this. Meditation is one of my favorite ways to do it, taking deep breaths. Mindfulness is coming into your moments, grounding yourselves, and I can explain all that in more detail as we go. But those are important things to do. So one of my favorite things to do, though, is go outside. It's so simple. Yeah. One of the greatest ways to self-soothe, because energy is transferred all around us. Like our house is full of energy because we bring it. You know, when you walk in a room, you feel somebody's energy when they show up. Like, ooh, did y'all feel that? I feel that. So sometimes we just go outside. And that could be good or bad. Sometimes you need to go outside and just shift the energy. Get the energy from the outside. You know, it can calm things down that may be problematic in the house. So that's a great way to self-soothe. Even coloring. I said adult coloring books are real things. Those can soothe us as well. So finding ways to calm yourself and do it on a regular basis is very important as well. Very, very important. Very important.
Back here.
Oh, okay. Did I lose y'all? I guess y'all popped off and y'all came back.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, it shut down for a moment. But what we did capture was when you were talking about looking for opportunities to self-soothe.
Yes.
For meditation, the deep breaths, the mindfulness, and you start going into the importance of going outside and the energy.
Right. So in the house, we all bring our energy. And if we're all here together like we've never been before for days on end, that energy can come in and it can be, some of it may turn negative because you've just been here. If folks are overwhelmed, but you're feeling anxious. So going outside is a great way to mitigate that energy, getting the fresh air, connecting to what I call God's greatest resource is just nature. The trees, the birds, the grass, all of that is very helpful right now in helping us to calm ourselves down. So I make a habit every single day, and I encourage all of my clients to do this, is go outside every day for at least 15, 20 minutes. You don't have to leave home. Go in your backyard, go on your front porch, take a break, like doing your work.
Welcome back, Radio World. We want to appreciate you for coming back to the Marriage Can Win radio show. We are so excited to continue the show today, and I am just ecstatic with I'm able to jump in with these two doctors here, Dr. Holly and Dr. Shana. They just get going, and so I had to jump in there and put some on in there. You know?
Oh my God,
you good.
We're going to continue, and we're going to let these doctors just continue to flow with some of this knowledge.
So,
Dr. Harlick,
based on what you were saying, he does need to get outside a little bit more. And
I've been cooped up.
Yes, you need to get outside. You know, I even had somebody yesterday tell me on one of my lives that they hadn't gotten out the house in 2 weeks. Literally, they hadn't left the house in 2 weeks, and they finally got in the car and drove. Like they never got out the car, but just driving in the car, getting a change of scenery, like for real, a change of scenery can be good. Because how often do we stay in the house for 2 weeks unless we sick? Never.
That's true.
So that goes against what seems natural or normal. So we have to get, see something different in a safe way. I'm not telling anybody to put themselves in any kind of harm, but even if you drove and you didn't get out the car, you went somewhere and came on back, that might be an option. We got to get outside a little bit more. We do.
Really quick on the I Love Radio side, we'd like to open up the line. So if you have any questions, want to make any comments, share some of your stories of being cooped up inside with your mate. Call us at 516-531-9623 and press 1. Again, that's 516-531-9623.
Yeah, and don't be shy. For those of you that are messaging me, feel free to call in to ask your questions. A lot of the time when we do these shows and we invite people to call in, it's not to embarrass anybody, it's not to make anyone feel bad. It's because we know that you honestly have questions or concerns. We know you want your marriage and your relationships to win. And that's the purpose for connecting with all of these dynamic speakers, coaches, motivational speakers, authors, because they have the answers that you need. A lot of times before they're like, well, it's going to cost this, I have to go here. No, we're bringing it to you. It's simple. Pick up the phone and ask the question.
Yeah.
Let's transition over into that.
Okay. All right. So after we figured out how to self-soothe ourselves, the M is really about minimizing unnecessary media. Because right now, so many folks have been vegetating on the media. Like you're on your phone all day long, you're watching the news in the background, you're watching the world news, the local news, CNN, NBC, MN, all of them. And it's too much information. It's overwhelming to our systems. I am all about us being informed. Yeah. But there's a point when informed turns into overwhelm because it's too much.
Yes.
So what I'm encouraging folks to do is kind of take a media diet. So get a little bit in the morning, a little bit in lunchtime, maybe a little bit in the evening. Or you can skip the middle meal and just get the two. Because what I promise you is whatever happened between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., they're going to tell you at 10 p.m. what had happened. They're going to tell you. And the other thing is focus more on local news instead of national news so much, because the national news is telling you stuff is happening a whole bunch of places you not at. Bad English, but y'all understand what I'm saying. You ain't over there. So you're responding to things that aren't happening to you and not happening around you, but your emotions don't know the difference. So we get hyper anxious about things that we're not experiencing, and you can't do a thing about those things. So I'm encouraging us be informed, but not overwhelmed. That includes social media, because sometimes the scrolling we do on our cell phones is just as bad. Now, your social media feed, I don't know your friends. Some of them are very negative. Some of them might be not negative intentionally, but they're having a hard time. And that level of emotional distress is showing up in the feeds, and then you're taking it on. So sometimes we got to back up from that. So it's just important to manage how much media we're exposing ourselves to. See, what I have decided to do is I haven't watched the actual news on TV probably in a week and a half. I am looking at news on my phone by articles because I can decide what I'm looking at. I can decide what story I'm reading, and I can decide when I'm reading it. See, the news, the visuals of it, I get visuals, I get sound, and all of that can be too overwhelming to a system. So when I do an article, it's not visual. I can read it, and when I want to stop, I stop. On the news, when I'm watching it, it's different. So making a choice on what makes sense for your world is important. If you're more hyper anxious and you already know that, just be careful, because you'll send yourself into a panic just by watching the news excessively too much. So that's the last tip for the entire Be Calm.
So that's awesome. That means you have the ability to decide what's coming in and what's going, and that in turn is going to impact what's coming out. So for those that may be suffering anxiety, or, like you said, they turn to get overly anxious, that's a strategy that you can start to incorporate now to help make this quarantine process more tolerable or make it a little bit easier, if that makes sense. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So a lot of times we're going to shift a little bit.
Okay.
We talk, one of the cores of Marriage Can Win, we talk about educating, empowering, and encouraging couples so they can embrace that marriage can win. But we tell them that you do that based on 3 key areas, which is, well, actually it's 5 key areas, 5 pillars. It's usually communication, finances, sex, faith, and forgiveness. But since we're talking about communication, one of our core beliefs is you must express what you expect. So as a licensed professional counselor, how does, what are some of the, I guess, tools and strategies that you could suggest to, I'm saying to the wives and to the women, of course, just to couples that are in the midst of this crisis, teach them how to express what they expect in the midst of this crisis?
Yeah, that's a good one, because they say, ask not, want not. If I don't tell you what I'm thinking or what I need, how can I expect you to know? So one of the things that I teach clients often in just communication in general terms, and it applies here as well, is owning your own experience of whatever is happening. And we do that by using the I feel statement. Some of you may have heard that before. It may not be new to you. But right now, when we're in a high panic, all that go out the window. We forget that our stuff even exists. So what you want to do is say, if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed or frustrated, then instead of saying, oh, you just make me so, okay, can't nobody make you nothing. Let's just be, they can make you a sandwich. I mean, they can make the bed, but they can't make you feel no kind of way. You get to decide how you respond to anything that happens in your world. So your feelings are yours. They're not anybody else's. I'm not saying that something outside of you doesn't occur that may precipitate the emotion you decide to have, but it's yours. So when we communicate, I feel frustrated, I feel stressed, I feel overwhelmed, then we're letting our mate know where we really are. We're not blaming them for that emotion or feeling. We're just letting them know where we are. So that's part one, is the I feel. Mm-hmm. Then you have to use part two, which is when. I feel frustrated. I feel overwhelmed when I have to teach the children in homeschool, and I have to work 9 to 5, and I have to cook dinner, and I need to clean the kitchen, and I need to wash the clothes. And y'all got me, just filling all those ands. Okay. Yes. And so that's part two. The third part is asking for what you need. And what I need from you is. So you express and you've owned your emotion. You explain when that emotion occurs and pretty much why. And then you ask for what you need as a result of what you just said. And what I need from you is some help. What I need from you is a break. What I need from you is support that looks like. So we got to get more specific with our mates. We can tell folks, well, I don't like this, but you didn't tell me what you do like. You didn't tell me what you needed. Like, I'm a mind reader. I mean, some of us may be good, but we ain't that good. And we're going to get it wrong. And then you're going to be mad. But you ain't asked me for that. So how you going to hold me responsible? You ain't asked. So that's really the scenario that I give clients. And then the last piece of it, there's a step 4. I think of step 4 or 5. I forget which number I'm on right now. But it's saying, asking the question, can you do that? Can you do that for me? That's the question. Give them an opportunity to say yes or no, maybe so. Let me think about it. So we clear at the end of that communication moment that we know that they heard us and that they're clear and we're clear on what they can do or not do.
Now, I like that because I never really thought about the can you do that? Mm-hmm. That's really, really important. So I hope that you guys that are listening, that you are taking notes, and just that for me, I'm like underlining it, circling it, highlighting. Uh-huh. Can you do that? Because a lot of times we operate under assumptions instead of asking, can you do that?
Yep. It's just fair, right? I mean, but we don't think about that because we think you should be doing it is what we telling ourselves. Why I got to ask you to do it? You should have known you're supposed to have done that. That's not fair. We not mind readers. Even we've been together. My husband been married for 20. Well, we've made 20 years going on 21. We still don't know what each of us want all the time without asking questions. It's just not fair.
You know, and that's a key point. I think about it. My husband and I had that conversation a while ago because this August will be 22 years of marriage.
Awesome.
And you know, a lot of times he would tell me, he said, honey, what I need you to understand is that I'm not a woman. I'm not going to think like a woman. I need you to tell me. I'm not a mind reader. If you tell me, I'll handle it. But if you don't tell me, I just may not know. And I had to get to the point where as a woman, as a wife, I realized he's not going to think the way I do. I'm going to look in the refrigerator. Okay, we're getting low on this. You know, the house needs this. The kids need this. He needs this. And he said, honestly, what I'm thinking about the job, the business, paying the bills and making y'all happy. The other stuff, it may not cross my mind for weeks at a time. If you tell me you need me to be mindful of that, I'll make a mental note and start doing that. And I think it's really, really important for women to learn to ask for what we need, be able to say, can you do this for me?
Exactly.
And not taking anything away from us. And that's dynamic. And just being in this setting, just, you know, it's like bringing a lot of things home. It's like, okay, now I'm even learning a new way to rephrase this.
Yeah.
How can you do that for me? I got to make sure I don't do it like this.
Right. Because it don't work when you do it. No, it don't work. You done just messed it up. Because you know we good for it. Now wait, can you do that? That don't work. That ain't the one we talking about still. We done messed it all up right there. Game over.
I got to remove the quarantine mindset. Like, you know, and that's another thing to be mindful. We tell couples, you know, not necessarily always what you say is how you say it.
It is.
But just learning to be able to go to them and say, can you do that for me?
Yes.
So some of our takeaways for today, just the acronym be calm, to just be mindful, to be able to ask for what you need, be able to say, make simple statements, use the I statements. You know, I feel, I just, like you said, no one can force you to feel anyway. You know, you have to decide how you're going to respond. And then also, can you do that for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're asking, you're making a request. And
Yes.
that's really, really important. So
It
oh my
is.
gosh, this is gorgeous.
It is.
It's
And
phenomenal.
one thing else I want to say too, real quickly, is inside of all of that, because as women, we're probably more likely to be asking for help in a situation, but I want to encourage the men folk to do the same thing, because you know, you're a man and you like, I'm supposed to have it covered. You know, if you're the manly kind of man and you say you got everything covered and nobody, you're the protector, right? You're supposed to be able to take your family. And we're in a situation right now where men are doing the best they can, but some might be feeling a lot of the pressure and the anxieties themselves too. And you need more help with certain things now than you used to. And it's okay to ask for that. So I'm encouraging us all to be in a space of owning our feelings and asking for what we need, because literally we need each other more right now than we ever have before, because of the level of duress that we're under. We're all under duress. Really, we're all in a traumatic situation, because this whole thing is just unknown, unheard of. And it sends us all into a space that we have to figure out how to be calm and manage. And so I'm just encouraging men folk and my sisters for us to all be in a space of asking for what we need from each other, and being I guess the word is being cognizant of the other. If they have a lot of other pressures and they may not be in a space to offer the thing you need right now, maybe we give them a little grace. And we'll say, okay, well, then we'll figure out another workaround for that. What's a compromise for that, right? We need to be open to those things right now. We may not all get what we want right now. I'm just saying. But don't be afraid to ask and see, can we figure it out together? So that's the idea.
No, that's powerful. That is powerful. One more topic that I definitely wanted us to branch into, because another one of our pillars is just faith. And we're talking about during this time, during this crisis, learning to exercise our faith. So when you're thinking about, your marriage being able to win, and you're thinking about your level of faith, can you speak to that woman or to that wife that may just be struggling because she wants, to embrace the concept that marriage can win, but right now it's like, I'm in closed-in quarters, everything is shifting. I mean, even for myself, it's different having the kids home and my husband home, which it's a blessing to me. But, now even things, you might tend to feel overwhelmed if everyone's like, well, hey, can you make breakfast and lunch and dinner and do your business? And then you're like, wait, time out,
Yes.
Yeah. So I got to use my faith. I got to get that time to pray and be like, okay, God, how do I handle this situation? So I don't say things, because these words, when we operate in high emotions and low intelligence,
those knives.
You start to have to break down those brick walls that your spouse or your family may start to build up because of that. So can we speak to the wives just for like a minute or two about exercising our faith during this crisis?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a huge proponent of, and in my introduction, you talked about, my platform is Extraordinary Lives. And really to live that, you must have mind, body, spirit alignment. Those three things we have to activate in order for us to live a life that points to our purpose. That's what Extraordinary Life is all about, actually. So the spirit piece is major. Like, we are spirit beings, right? And so when we neglect that piece, we've made a mistake. So right now, we're all in this space, those who are believers and those who are not. So some people's spiritual stuff is different, right? And everybody can have their own way of doing it. But connecting, whether that's through prayer, through meditation, whether that is through reading of the Bible, it doesn't even look the same. Because I'm one who practices meditation and reading my Bible and having a Bible study, which I used to do in the morning when everybody left to go to school. They ain't leaving. So she can't do it the way she used to do it. And I've had to wrestle with myself to figure out, well, you need to go downstairs to your office and do that instead of doing it in your room because everybody's in there. You can't do it in there. So you got to get up a little bit earlier to make it happen. So, we have to be flexible. That's a word in how we exercise our spirituality right now. So, but you want to make sure you make time for it, whatever that means to you, how you commune with the spiritual aspect of your world. You need to make time for it. I definitely think that couples should, if we have that faith in common, we need to do that together. That strengthens our unit so that when we show up against adversity, we're showing up together and not me over here and you over there. We're here together with our children as well, too. I believe women should spend time in journaling. To me, journaling becomes a very spiritual aspect of my world because that's a place I get to connect, right? Yeah. And talk about the things that I'm thinking about and where my spirit is and my thank yous and my gratitudes and all of those things. Just even saying thank you and being grateful every day is a spiritual component. Sometimes we make it mean something so huge when it's really a really simple thing. Right? It's connecting to your source. We all have whatever source you believe. Mine is God, and I'm totally connected, and I make a point to do that. So I encourage women to be on purpose of finding that source if you're unclear about it, and connecting to that in purposeful ways. For sure, if that's the good book, then you get in it. The only way to hear from him is to listen to him, and he speaks to us through his word. You got to get there on a daily basis, one scripture at a time. You don't have to read the whole thing all in one sitting. We can take this thing very slowly, but connecting daily is going to give us strength. That's for sure.
And that's really important because one of the things that, even for some wives, because it's a new normal, that our schedules are shifting. You have, just like we're creative, if you think about, you have that child that learns differently, you come up with creative ways to handle that. You have that spouse that communicates differently. You're creative. You have to be creative even when it comes to your time and with God. I know I used to do it like after the kids are gone, but now it's like, okay, before they get up 5 o'clock in the morning, if I'm in that bed and I can't sleep, okay, it's time to go down. Let me go downstairs, get a little bit of quiet time, go lock in the office and spend time with God because we make so much, we have so much going on, but I don't ever want God to be last on my to-do list.
Absolutely not.
And I want to make sure that I set the tone for my day and just being able to hear from God. He'll give me instructions on, hey, you need to make sure you're doing X, Y, Z, clarity. So that way, when things happen, you reckon he'll give you wisdom on how to handle it.
He does.
Makes it so much easier for us, but we got to make that time. And that's really, really imperative. So I know that our time is winding up, but just going through the website and going through your bio, you have so much going on. So can you take a couple of moments and just share with our listeners how they can stay in contact with you? What's going on, the events? You can tell them a little bit more about these dynamic books that you've written.
Okay, I will. Can't believe it's already been an hour. It goes by so fast when you're having a good time. That's for sure. So all the tips that I talked about on the show, Be Calm, can be found online at becalmrightnow.com. becalmrightnow.com. You can connect there. You can download the tip sheets. You can have them all with more detail. So that's one way to get in connection to me that way. So yeah, I do have a lot of things going on. I'm like so many other women. We have responsibilities and hats in all different areas. But all of what I do is supporting women. If mama ain't right, ain't nobody right. I'm clear about that. So I try to make it my business to make sure we good. That's really what I do. That's my purpose, and I'm clear about that. So one of the things that I've done, you mentioned the 2 books, Get Your Life, the Blueprint, and Get Your Life, the 90-Day Journal. And actually I used the journal, the 90-day journal that women can literally write every day and track themselves along their journeys of whatever goals you set for yourself. Because many times we have these big old goals and we don't quite get there because they're too big. So even right now is an amazing time to journal. If you have never been a writer or journaler, now is a great time. I'm telling everybody, write. What are you doing? How are you getting through? How are you feeling? This body of literature that if folks really write right now will be amazing a year from now. Like it will teach us how to do things we never knew we were capable of doing because we've never been here. So that book is designed for that. All of these books are found on Amazon, by the way, if you're looking for them. And even the blueprint that goes along with it speaks about how do we face issues in our life? How do we deal with difficult times? How do we set goals? How do we face our fears and our pains? And how do we find our passions? And it deals with quite a few things. And collectively together, it's a I would call it a unit. They can work really well together or separately, but together they complement each other. So all of that is on Amazon for sure. And then a new thing that I'm having that I'm so excited about, because I do lots of things like this, lots of videos, lots of ways that I teach people over the years. And I am coming and creating a brand new academy. It's going to be Your Extraordinary Life Academy that's coming out in a week. And it's going to house all of the stuff that I've been doing and sharing with people. And so you'll be able to find it on my website, drshanadlewis.com. As soon as it launches and drops, it'll be there. It's going to be a great place because I've talked about a lot of things over the years, but never really had a place for folks to consume it in one spot. Absolutely. So I'm excited to bring that to folks as well. So any way that I can assist or support you, I have a counseling practice. If you need counseling, you can reach out to me on drshanadlewis.com, and I will be able to connect you with the clinician that can support you right now. If you live in Texas, our license only allows us to work inside of Texas anywhere. In tech virtually, you don't have to have insurance, low rates. We're making it where anybody who needs help can get it. So that's a great way to support folks. And then lastly, you mentioned my nonprofit, Her Voice. On the 25th, we're having a Girls' Day conference, which is also girls and women, where we're empowering women, supporting girls and entrepreneurship and leadership. We're going to have some girl bosses going to show up and teach us some things. So it's a free conference now. It was going to be on ground, but we know how that goes. We shift and we readjust. So all of that will be on my website as well. So if you, and it's her-voice.net for that event. But if you go to drshanadlewis.com, you'll find everything that we're talking about.
Wow. So I want to thank you, Dr. Shana,
for
just spending time with us on the show, for pouring into the women, into the wives, into the men.
Yes.
He's going to give us this last little time for it to be just.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate you.
So we are going to be wrapping up, but again, just make sure that you stay connected with Dr. Shana. She has some awesome tools and strategies available. And definitely on behalf of us at Marriage Can Win, we're super excited. We are taking advantage of this time now to release our new book called Struggling to Keep the Vows. Yay! So you can go to our website, or you can go to Sakeisha.strugglingtokeepthevowsbook.com and place your order there. We're super excited because we're really, really passionate about marriages winning. And that's just been our entire focus for this past 13 years.
Awesome.
And we just, to us, it's just a testament that God can take two people coming from different backgrounds, the histories of divorce, and turn around and use us to be able to bless other couples. And that's why we connect with dynamic women like you, Dr. Shana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. To Dr. Charles Dean, to all of our listeners on the loveradionetwork.com. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for following us every week and taking advantage of this special Saturday pop-up edition. So super thank you guys. Make sure you stay connected with us. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook under Marriage Can Win. And we just want you guys to have an amazing time. Just reach out to Dr. Shane, especially if you're in the Texas area.
Yes.
Take advantage of all the resources she's provided. Stay connected with us, and we'll be looking forward. We will be back on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. here on the Love Radio Network. All right, take care.
We want to thank you for joining us today on our broadcast.
Let's keep the conversation going. You can connect with us via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or subscribe to our YouTube channel under Marriage Can Win.
Also, you can join us 24/7 on our Marriage Can Win podcast at www.themarriagecanwinshow.com, and also connect to us at marriagescanwin.com.
Remember, you can be the change you want to see in your relationship. Until next time, see you soon.